Welcome back everybody to another part of my Blu-ray collection, and like I said in the last video, we're going to be looking at Second Sight. So with like Arrow Video and Indicator and Eureka, I have a bunch of single disc standard edition films, but also some limited edition versions as well. So we'll start off with the single discs as usual, and yeah, the first three are ones that I have only recently bought, all from the 80s but all completely different, because the first one is Flight of the Navigator, a really great, family-friendly children's kind of film, but also quite funny, and got superb special effects for a film from the mid-80s. And then we have something completely different, Ghost Story, again from the 80s, 1981, weirdly starring Fred Astaire, who was more known for his dancing kind of films, and yet this and Towering Inferno are the only two films I've actually seen him from, so certainly not his more well-known kind of films. But yeah, also got Melvyn Douglas and Douglas Fairbanks, and yeah, a really good solid horror film that, even though it is an 18, isn't really all that violent apart from a couple of areas. And then an action comedy in the form of Midnight Run, starring the great Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin, and yeah, 1988, fantastic film, some great action scenes, and yeah, it's hilarious from beginning to end, and even though it's more than 2 hours long, it really does not feel its length because the pacing is superb. And then we have The Brood from David Cronenberg, one of his more underrated films, but still, as you'd expect from Cronenberg, incredibly violent, quite dark, but also extremely entertaining. And then we have the Mississippi Burning from Alan Parker, starring the great Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe. I think this was the first Willem Dafoe film that truly showed how great of an actor he is. Not that he hadn't been in anything before, also the great To Live and Die in LA, and yeah, I think it was The Loveless as well. But yeah, this is amazing. They're both FBI agents dealing with racial tensions in a town, and it's absolutely superb. And yeah, well ahead of its time in terms of dealing with racism and yeah, the impact it has on people and all that lot. So yeah, great film, and yeah, highly recommended. And then for something again completely different, The Return of the Living Dead, pretty much spoofs the Living Dead series after Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead. And yeah, absolutely hilarious. They're back from the grave and ready to party. It has a great soundtrack, impeccable practical effects, and yeah, it's hilarious as well, as it skits on the whole zombie genre, as none of the rules really apply in that film. And then we have something from the great John Carpenter, Assault on Precinct 13. Again, like all the other films that we've seen, incredibly dark in areas. I mean, a child gets killed in the first 15 minutes or something, and yeah, but great tension, great use of a single location, and a really solid cast as well, and some solid action to go along with it. And yeah, it's not his most popular film, but it's one of my favourites, to be honest. And then we have Southern Comfort, directed by the great Walter Hill, after the likes of The Warriors and The Driver, which I also really rather like. But yeah, this is great. This uses a Vietnam allegory to really ratchet up the tension, because they're basically soldiers that have only blanks on them, and yeah, are being hunted down by people that know the area a lot better than they do. So yeah, superb film, and highly recommend it, especially since it's got a great performance by Powers Booth. And yeah, it's easily one of the better allegories of the Vietnam War. And the final single disc that isn't a part of a limited edition is The Changeling, again another horror film from the early 80s like Ghost Story, but this is even better, to be honest. And yeah, it's got a great tagline: "How did you die, Joseph? Did you die in this house? Why do you remain?" And it's got a superb performance from George C. Scott, who would obviously go on to be in The Exorcist 3 a few years later, which was even better in that. But yeah, this is still great, and yeah, makes use of a child's ball like no other horror film ever has before, and makes it really yeah, ratchet up the tension, really creepy. And the first limited edition one we have is Under the Shadow. Now this is a Iran set film, language of Farsi I think it is. Not seen it for a while, but it's still a great film, and yeah, it uses a civil war as a backdrop for a horror film, as a bomb drops on an apartment complex and brings something with it a bit more menacing than any explosion. So yeah, absolutely superb film. It's got a really nice poster with it as well, which is yeah, the artwork that you saw in the box, but I'll just quickly show you a little bit. So yeah, really rather nice poster. Really nicely done original artwork, I think it is. So it's basically that you just saw in the box there. And yeah, you get a nice booklet with it as well. Again, with some more nice artwork on it. And yeah, just go through the film. There's a bunch of the crew. And yeah, there we go. Again, makes great use of a single location because it takes place in all of that apartment. And there's the disc, case itself with the disc. So yeah, they don't really do anything special with the disc cases or the discs that are inside them, but yeah, you usually get a poster, you usually get a booklet to go alongside it, and another case of that is the great film Upgrade. Easily one of my favourite recent films. Incredibly funny, but also really rather violent and brutal as well, with one of the best kind of twist endings that I've seen in a while. And again, we have really nice artwork poster. Again, it's artwork on the case, as you can see, and an Upgrade on the bottom. So yeah, I like the fact that they keep them consistent between the case and the poster, so you know what they're going to look like. And again, more nice artwork on the front of the booklet, which again takes you through different scenes in the film and talks about the film as well. Really well good cast, and yeah, great amount of people behind it. Logan Marshall Green is superb in the lead role, and it's a shame that I don't think he's going to get much more. I don't think he's had much more roles, to be honest. And then the most recent one out of these is Dawn of the Dead, directed by the great George A. Romero. And yeah, it's got the nice tagline on the back: "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth." And they sure do that. No poster or booklet with this, because it's the more basic version of this. It was a more expensive £80 version. I think this only cost me about £30. And yeah, got the theatrical cut, the extended Khan cut, and the Argento cut. Not seen the Argento cut yet, but I have seen the theatrical and the Khan cut. Can't say that I found all that much difference between the two of those versions, because yeah, it's just a bit more in terms of characterization and a few extended scenes. But you know, more of that film is never a bad thing, because it is a cracking film, and yeah, definitely spurred off a load of copycat zombie films from the late 70s and well into the 80s. So yeah, superb film. Although it's not my favourite, I do prefer Day of the Dead, which will hopefully get a Blu-ray release of its own sometimes. I know it did from our video about 10 years ago or so, but to buy that now is extremely expensive and really not worth it. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. And then we have the rather underrated The Man with the X-Ray Eye, starring the great Ray Milland, who I think we've seen in another film that I reviewed on we looked at on another video. I think it was A Big Clock. But yeah, nonetheless, got a superb poster that isn't actually just one poster, because it's got the original one and the new artwork that is on the box itself. So yeah, it's got the original one there. It's really nice. Really shows off the kind of aspects of the film and all that lot. So yeah, really nice. And then it's just got the new artwork on the back of it, which you've already seen on the box. But yeah, there's Ray Milland, looking a bit gurning there. And yeah, I really do like this film. It's one of the more underrated sci-fi films from the 60s. Is that when it came out? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, 1963. And yeah, again, nice booklet. No different artwork on the booklet, unlike the other ones, but still nice enough nonetheless. And yeah, again, going through all this different stuff, because Roger Corman directed this. I think he either directed it or he produced it. It's one or the other, but yeah, Roger Corman was absolutely superb as a director. Yeah, it is directed by Roger Corman, as it says there. And yeah, Roger Corman was superb because he really, I'm saying was like he's dead because he's not, but yeah, he really knew how to get a film budget way down, but not really make it look like that back in the 50s and 60s. Obviously, in the like 70s, 80s, and 90s, his films did look a bit like their budgets, but back then he really did, you know, make the most of them and make them look like, you know, A-class films. And finally, we have In Bruges, one of my favourite comedy films ever made. Came out a while ago though, but still a great film nonetheless. And again, we get a nice booklet, different artwork this time to the one on the box. And yeah, it's got a great cast. And yeah, Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell are superb. I'm just trying to look for the point where which. Oh, there we go. This bit's funny. It's a bit sweary, but it's funny nonetheless. Just read it for yourself. It's one of the funniest scenes that you can see in the film. So yeah, just pause it when you want to read the rest of it. But yeah, that is one of my favourite scenes in the film. So yeah, it's the whole script of In Bruges, which is, you know, nice to have. And yeah, and then the disc itself, and like I said, the booklet as well. Oh no, that was a script that we had, that had that artwork, and then yeah, the booklet itself has the same artwork. So yeah, there's the two lead cast members. But yeah, it's really really funny, really rather dark as well in places. You also got Ralph Fiennes in it as well, and yeah, absolutely superb directed by Martin McDonagh, who I think also did The Guard, which was also really nice. Also had Brendan Gleeson in it. And yeah, it's absolutely superb film. So yeah, there we go. Second Sight, not the ones I have the most from by any means, but yeah, they do a great deal of films. Most of those I think are from the 80s or the 70s. Yeah, The Changeling, Ghost Story, Flight of the Navigator, Southern Comfort, Return of the Living Dead, Mississippi Burning, Midnight Run are all from the 80s. Dawn of the Dead, The Brood, Assault on Precinct 13. From the 70s, and then obviously I have a few new ones as well, like Upgrade and Under the Shadow, but yeah, most of them are from the 80s, to be honest, which is a bit of a surprise given I figured Arrow Video had that kind of decades locked down. But yeah, regardless, a great publisher of films, and the limited editions are great. Got more on the way from them. They are releasing The Babadook on a limited edition as well, which I'm really looking forward to, because that, again, is one of my favourite recent films. And yeah, you'll see that when I start doing update collection videos. So yeah, nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.